finally, we get to Marty. With it all said and done, Marty was the main character, the pivotal character, the character in which the entire Back to the Future story revolved around.
He was the protagonist. He was the main character. He was the MC to the show. He was Back to the Future. He was our window to the adventures at hand. Here, they play him off as a complete dumbass with no smarts whatsoever, and worst of all, he's a womanizer. Yes, Marty's girlfriend Jennifer is in the series, but she has no stake in the story, and mostly she's not that big a deal with Marty. I understand Marty was not exactly all smart, yes, but face it, it was because he was the representation that he was the average American teenager. Now he's more like last decade's representation of the average 4chaner or YouTuber without the image boards or swearing. Not a neuron in sight.
In the end, all the characters are pretty much the same with the exception of the oversimplified science explanations and for the fact that this is educational. Yes, this is educational. Which moves me on to the plot and design.
The plot, like I said, is education-based. Thinly based at that. Each episode starts with a live-action segment with Christopher Lloyd explaining some kind of an experiment or telling of some experience which segues into the animated portion. After the cartoon, we have live-action Doc explain another segue into a homemade experiment. Then the cartoon ends. The main body of the show can either take place throughout time, Modern Hill Valley with one of Doc's inventions, or involving his kids doing something odd with science. Riveting.
I have to ask, does everybody in Hill Valley know that Doc has a time machine? Has 2 time machines? You know, seriously, you'd think that after all the flying objects and the explosions and shit, somebody would notice. Because that's kind of hard to miss.
On top of it all, the designs are just horrid. The colors are really scary. I've never seen so many fluorescent colors in a cartoon. Hit this shit with the black light, it'll blind ya. There's so much pink. So much purple. God, the baby blues and yellows. It's like a kid ate a box of crayons and puked on the animation cells. The over-cartooniness of the show makes me nauseous.
Now, here's one of the bigger problems with the show. Other than the shitty animation quality, they take a total disregard for the non-interference of time. You know, the main reason why the DeLorean time machine was destroyed in the first place!
Sorry, but to elaborate my point, there's at least 8 instances of interference where it could alter history to the point the time traveler could be erased from existence, causing a paradox. I also seem to notice the show ignores the whole, hey, I've seen that guy before, logic the movies had. In the episode Gone Fishing, Doc was shown to have had a bad past with fishing, having dropped into a lake when he was just a kid, causing him to panic when the term fishing is even said. So Jules, Vern, and Marty go back and avert the disaster, but damn near gets young Doc killed as a kid. With this knowledge secured in our minds, despite how the episode ends, is the earliest interference Doc has had in his life by his own kids and Marty. Why is it that Doc hasn't put together, hey, I've seen these same 3 people since I was 4. Who are these people?
No, really. Doc has met Marty at least 4 times already. He's even met his sons multiple times. He's met Jules at least 3 times, and Vern about 4 times. If I would have caught on with this shit, I not only would have destroyed the time machine, but... Actually, I think Crow T. Robot can back me up on this.
Well, he retains the knowledge. He should kill himself. Right?
Oh, the sheer bending over of the space-time continuum. They take maybe 3 episodes to explain the effects of fucking about in time.
One episode in particular, called Roman Holiday, they actually cause a predestination paradox where Marty gets challenged by Bifficus Insanity, a Biff Tannen ancestor, I'll get back to that, to a chariot race where it ends up Marty has to lose the race so Bifficus can take place of who I'm assuming is Augustus, which makes Bifficus Tiberius?
Hold on. Bifficus Insanity, a Biff Tannen relative, is Caligula's great uncle in this universe? I guess I could see how that works.
Anyway, Marty throws the race where he's been sentenced to be eaten by lions. Marty takes off in the chariot with Doc, Jules, Vern, and a slave the boys free from the nearby bats named Judah following in the DeLorean. Marty and Judah switch places as Judah reveals his name to be Ben-Hur. Yeah, so Doc's kids freed Ben-Hur, Marty allowed the succession of a dickhead to get screwed, and it all came together in the end. Whoop diddly fucking shit.
As stated before, yeah, they do have relatives of Biff Tannen as the antagonist for all the time travel adventures. It's kind of a running gag, you see.
Cool thing, they're all voiced by Tom Wilson. Shitty thing, the joke is self-aware. Seriously, every time a Tannen from the past pops up, the characters point it out.
Oh, these tannins are like a bad fungus.
That one allosaur resembles Biff Tannen.
Oh, not another Biffster.
I cannot begin to tell you how fucking annoying this is. What's even worse is Tom is doing a great job when he's actually Biff. It's far more cartoony, of course seeing the subject matter, but Biff is fucking hilarious.
Oh, now my seat's all sticky. I'm calling the police, the Air Force, and William Shatner.
Don't use that tone with me or I'll wash your mouth out with toothpaste!
Along with his son, Biff Jr., the two have the same interaction Homer and Bart Simpson do.
And in an act of community goodwill, I am turning this ranch into a toxic waste dump and miniature golf course. On account of my kid Biff Jr. likes miniature golf.
I hate miniature golf.
He has done much damage to my machine with a baseball bat.
Yeah, he's got a good swing.
The fact that this stupid time travel joke keeps popping up way the hell too much undermines the comedy that could have come from this. Continuity within the Back to the Future universe is hit and miss. Aside from the fact Doc can't remember what Marty looks like for more than a decade at a time, there are a few places where continuity was well researched, then there's instances where they royally fuck it up. In the episode My Pop's an Alien, Doc is accused of being an extraterrestrial in which the whole town, who I might mention the denizens of Hill Valley have the IQ of an allergy pill, came knocking at his door with the California National Guard.
Of course, because Doc allows the dumbass that damn near erased his own fucking existence in the first goddamn movie, among other atrocities, to drive around in the fucking DeLorean like it's his father's VW beater. Marty, Jules, and Vern go back to 1967 to figure out what the fuck caused all this bullshit.
After puttering around in town, they make it to Doc's mansion. Yeah, remember Doc's mansion? The one that burnt down in the summer of 1962?
Off by 5 years, Jack Maggot!
In another episode, which I'll shorten to Mr. Wisdom, because the official name is too fucking long, a Bigman's World ripoff who actually went to college with Doc finds that Doc lives in Hill Valley and goes to steal his inventions. Upon rifling through Doc's lab, he sees the DeLorean and looks in the window to find the flux capacitor. What follows will fuck with your head.
Can it be his old college dream or not a flux capacitor?
Wait a second. I thought Doc came up with the flux capacitor in 1955. You know, after he slipped and he hit his head. I don't think he was in college when that happened. You know, come to think of it, how old is Doc?
Seriously, Doc was supposedly born in 1922 in this continuity. You figure 1922 to 1985 unhindered by time travel would make Doc 63. That's understandable. Now we add the insanity. Ignoring Back to the Future 2 because the time travel to the future was no longer than maybe a month accumulated through the time when Doc left, all the way to the time where he went to go pick up Marty, we add 10 years from 1885 based on Jules' age being the oldest, and a statement that Doc tried to patent the time train in 1895, that would make Doc between 73 and 75 years old. For a guy who worked with radiation and just being an old fart, Doc could get it up.
Well, of course, he did have that all-natural overhaul in 2015. You know, 30 to 40 years added to your life.
As I said before, I like the live-action Doc segments, and Tom Wilson is always good at what he does. But this show was still a staple in our generation for one other thing.
Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? I present to you the only kick-ass thing about this show. It's amazing. It's colossal. It's spectacular. It will, in fact, make you shit unicorns. Bill Nye, the fucking science guy!
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yes, at the end of the cartoon segment, Doc will explain that there was something scientific in the episode that could be demonstrated as a small project at home. In comes the Mac Daddy of Science, Bill Nye. Bill doesn't say much during these segments. As a matter of fact, he pantomimes while Doc gives a narrative of the experiment. This show, in all of its butt-fucking in science, actually made this man famous. And for that, I am very glad. If Bill Nye ever said he was going to release a bunch of man-eating atomic land tuna to make way for his installment as world leader, I'd run for the nearest bomb shelter, because at that point, it's only a matter of time. Overall, this show is stupid. It rapes Back to the Future to its very core without the common courtesy of Astroglide. Is it that bad? Yes. So bad that it's not worth checking out? Nah, I wouldn't say that. I would say check it out. For all its absurdity, there's a few moments worth watching for the lulls. And if you were ever curious to where Bill Nye got started, this would be a good place to find your answer. You could generally find all the episodes on YouTube.
Another day, another disaster. I'm Richie McAlister reminding you not to get caught watching crap.
This show has really gone to the dogs. And that first cartoon, what a toad. Which reminds me, which has more lives, a cat or a frog? You give up? It's a frog. A cat has 9 lives, but a frog croaks every night.